Policemen pulled him over for going 47 miles per hour in a 31 miles per hour zone. He was fined with a rather expensive ticket, $103,000 to be exact.
What? $103,000? What's up, guys? It's Dwayne, back again for another video, back in for a reaction, and today's a great, wonderful, amazing day because it's a Finland day. Why Finland has 100,000 speeding fines? Without further ado, let's get into this reaction. Let's go.
Executive named Anssi Vanyoki was speeding on his red Harley-Davidson motorbike in Helsinki, Finland. Policemen pulled him over for going 47 miles per hour in a 31 miles per hour zone.
Okay, we're going to start this entire thing again.
A Nokia executive named Anssi Vanyoki was speeding on his red Harley-Davidson motorbike in Helsinki, Finland. Policemen pulled him over for going 47 miles per hour in a 31 miles per hour zone. He was fined with a rather expensive ticket, $103,000 to be exact.
What? $103,000? No. For going 47 miles an hour over 31? Gotta be kidding me. That can't be real. What?
Exact. And more recently, in 2015, a Finnish businessman was caught speeding and had to pay a $60,000 ticket.
Oh my god. Why are the tickets so, like, ridiculous? What if you can't afford... Well, most people can't afford those types of bills. What happens then? Let me know. Of course,
not all tickets in Finland are that pricey. The average speeding ticket is around $500.
Still.
So why the huge disparity? It's because Finland's fine policy takes more than just crime into account, a policy that other nations have adopted and the United States is considering too. In the United States, certain minor offenses are charged with a fine at a fixed rate. For example, in Florida, every time someone's caught littering, they are ticketed $100. Some states set minimum and maximum amounts to determine the rates, which allows for more leeway. But Finland's fine policy is based on equity. They're called day fines. Basically, the more you earn, the more you have to pay for minor crimes such as speeding. Finland is the first...
Really? So you really tax your rich in every sort of way the rich gets taxed, because to fine someone more money because they earn more money, I get it. It makes sense, to be honest, actually. Now I'm thinking about it, yeah, it makes sense. It's just, oof, that is hefty. Imagine being very, very successful. Being like I don't know, you have a couple of million in the bank and you're getting like £60,000 fines and stuff. Like, wow.
First country to introduce this type of equity fine in 1921. Sweden followed suit, and then Denmark.
Wow.
The purpose of the day fine system is to equalize the burden of a punishment regardless of income. Not only does the punishment fit the crime, it fits the criminal.
I get it. That makes sense. That makes total sense. Because imagine you're like a single mom, you're not working, and you're like trying to, you're speeding to get your kid to school because it's late, and you get stopped and then you get fined. Is it fair that they get the same fine, that single mother with no job gets the same fine as a businessman who's a multimillionaire? That's not fair. So it makes complete sense. Now I'm thinking about it and rationalize it in my head. That makes complete sense. So I totally get it.
This deters wealthy offenders from taking advantage of the law because they have enough money to buy their way out of a crime. Yeah. Plus, fines based on income make them more manageable for those with lower incomes. Day fine policies are based on a two-step system. First, the court decides the severity of the crime using a certain number of days. A worse crime results in a higher amount of days for the offender. Next, the court decides on the daily fine based on the offender's salary. This is where the amount each person pays changes. It's calculated by the number of days the crime is worth, multiplied by the nominal daily fee. The daily fine should be 1/60th of one's monthly income, which is approximately 50% of the offender's daily net income with a reduction of basic needs.
My only problem with this is, this is the other argument for the other way, is that these types of taxation, it's not tax, but like fines, sorry, they affect only a certain demographic in society. So the lower class, it benefits because or the low income, sorry, not lower class, lower income, it affects less. It's good for them because they don't get taxed more than they earn. The middle class, it'll affect the most because, well, they're not avoiding taxes. Like the rich know how to avoid taxes. The rich know how to hide their income, hide how much they actually have. The rich have their money, they don't have money. A lot of them have assets. You can't touch assets. Once they're in something, they're untouchable. So they can hide from this. So the people that really get affected are the middle classes. You know, the ones that are like the doctors that get paid 100,000 a year or 150,000 a year. The nurses, middle class Finland will get affected by that. Not the rich. The rich are very smart. The rich know how to protect their money. That's my only issue. Yeah.
For example, offender A and offender B commit the same crime. Let's say they both were caught going 10 miles per hour over the speed limit. Therefore, they are both charged with 47 days. However, their income differs. Offender A earns $100 a day, while offender B earns $10 a day. So offender A's fine is their income of $100 times 0.5 times 47 days, which comes out to $2,350. Offender B's will be $10 times 0.5 times 47 for a total of $235. So while the total numerical fee differs, the punishment is an equal financial burden to both offenders. According to the Finnish Criminal Code, the most someone can be charged for their first offense is 120 days, but there's not an upper limit on the day fine amount. Finland is the only country without a daily money limit. That's why high earners are hit with these headline-worthy fines. And according to tax records, the Nokia executive earned about $12.5 million in the previous year, and the businessman made $6.5 million. The offender is sentenced to prison or community service only if the fine goes unpaid. This allows the country to generate more revenue from fines while not spending as much money on prisoners. One major goal of day fines is to reduce incarceration rates. Finland's incarceration rates have been on a downward trend since the 1950s. As of 2018, there are only 53 per 100,000 people behind bars. In contrast, the United States has 698 per 100,000 people in prison as of 2020, the highest rate in the world. Of course, it isn't apples to apples. There are many other factors that account for this discrepancy in incarceration rates, like the different set of laws, for instance. However, other countries that use day fines yield similarly successful results. Germany adopted its own system in 1975. Day fines are the default punishment for most violations, including theft, fraud, and battery. More than 80% of penalties are fined. Following the implementation of the system, the country conducted studies to measure the effectiveness. These proved that fines were more effective than prison in the instance of reconviction rates for offenses like fraud and theft, but not for career criminals.
Yeah, I get it. It sounds like it works. Like the system sounds like it works completely, especially because your incarceration rate is so low. There aren't people in prisons, and even if they do go to prison, I've watched videos on your prisons. They're very humane. Like you treat prisoners really well, and you treat them like a member of society. So then when they go back into society, they're able to just kind of not reoffend, but don't want them to reoffend. They're able to just kind of integrate again. And I think that's awesome. So I guess this fine situation works. And also, he hasn't even spoken about this yet, but it's safety, like speeding tickets. Like you could knock someone over and kill somebody, but this is a deterrent, like, especially if you're someone who has a lot of money. It's a deterrent not to speed, because you're like, oh my god, I might get £100,000 speeding fine. And also, like, it's funny because the rich as well are people that have, like, you know, really good cars, really expensive cars, are more likely to speed as well. This is a really good system. I think it must be working, right?
Offenders were more likely to pay their fines too, which generated more revenue. Only about 4% of offenders failed to pay. So if day fines have shown signs of success in other countries, why doesn't the U.S. use them? Well, it's not as if the country hasn't tried. In 1987, the National Institute of Justice launched a day fine pilot program in Staten Island, New York. After 2 years, it resulted in increased revenue, reduced arrest warrants, and reduced costly court appearances. Other locations also set up short-term day fine systems. From 1991 to 1993, the Maricopa County program in Arizona found that day fines reduced the chance of criminals getting rearrested. But unlike Staten Island and Arizona, the program in Milwaukee, Wisconsin had reduced revenue, and the pilot program ceased.
Okay.
But it just might not have been the right time. President Ronald Reagan had a notably tough stance on crime that trickled through the American justice system.
The rise in crime was not an unavoidable accident. As all of you know, crime today is an American epidemic. Lenient laws and lenient judges have been greatly to blame.
He believed the death penalty saves lives, grew law enforcement by 6%, and launched the infamous War on Drugs campaign.
This guy, I've seen him so many times. I think he was a bad president when he, like Ronald Reagan.
These proposals will bring the federal commitment to fighting drugs to $3 billion.
These policies were founded on the belief that harsh penalties reduce crime.
Money
But
making.
would day fines in the U.S. work today? It's hard to say, mostly because the comparison to Finland isn't exactly fair. Not only is the United States' population almost 60 times the size, but the economies, ideologies, culture, styles of government of these two nations are drastically different.
Very different.
For one, the wage gap in the U.S. is much wider. Critics of the system believe day fines could create further disparities in certain U.S. neighborhoods, especially in...
Well, no, it couldn't. The whole point of a day fine is that it doesn't create disparities because you're fining them based on their income. They don't want to do it because you'd be taxing the rich, and then in America it's all about capitalism, and there are more millionaires in America than I think anywhere else in the world for that reason, because their money is protected.
Especially in regards to reckless driving. An income-based system might appear to help the poor, but that's forgetting the victims of those crimes. Casey Mulligan, a professor of law at the University of Chicago, suggests that low fines might make crimes more prevalent. Do we want more speeding past schools in poor neighborhoods than in rich neighborhoods?
But it's not low. It's not low fines. It's fines that are the same percentage of what that person earns, regardless of income. It's not low fines. Is that you can't have. What do they not understand about? What do they not understand about percentages? 5% of 100 is not the same as 5% of 1 million. What does he not understand about that? But it's the same in terms of fairness. It's the same percentage.
Day fines could also reduce revenue for already poor cities and towns, while wealthy towns might see revenue growth due to increased average fines. But it's not just wealth distribution.
They have a very elaborate social safety net. The government provides a vast array of services. They have socialized medicine. They have free education. They basically assume the government is there to serve us. The government is there to make life better. And it has to justify what it does or doesn't do on the grounds of whether it makes life better. So,
well, yeah, that's what governments are supposed to do. We live in a society and as a people, we live in a particular society because we like our governments. You know, that's what makes our lives happier. If we don't like that government, A lot of us will just move to another place where we like the government. That's the whole point. We are in charge of the government. They're not in charge of us. Their system needs to benefit the people. Otherwise, the people will uprise or the people will move. You can't have a society without people. So obviously, that's exactly what the government's supposed to do. They're supposed to serve us. Sorry, I'm on a rant.
So when that government that provides you with these services says that it thinks it's fair to put a fine on a speeder that's, X $1,000, it's not that you necessarily agree with that the government is doing it, but you don't have the American notion that the government is a bunch of thieves, that they've all got their hands in my pockets, that they all are taking my money.
The United States also just has more crime.
Compared to most countries, Finland is a minimal crime place. It is a minimal incarceration place.
Why do you think? Why do you think? Why do you think? It's nothing to do with the amount of people in Finland. It's to do with the way that you treat your citizens. That's why it's a minimal. That's why the UK is a minimal compared to America.
That's true of Europe in general, but particularly
Yes.
of Finland and the other Scandinavian countries. So it seems to me, I wouldn't want to argue causality, but clearly, if you run your society in a different way, you don't get the anger, the bitterness, the economic inequalities that provoke crime.
Recently, Finland adjusted their own fine system.
Correct.
Now, minor crimes such as low-speed speeding and parking will be subject to flat rates, while more dangerous crimes like reckless driving will still be subject to day fines. This change aims to maximize administrative efficiency. Overall, it seems unlikely that the US would ever implement its own day fine system. It's just too different. But if you're a Finnish millionaire with a motorcycle, you might want to think twice about going over that speed limit.
I'll move out of Finland because maybe go to Germany. It's not far from Finland and they have not unlimited speed limits, but you can definitely speed on the autobahn. Okay, I think that's the end of the video. I think these are credits. Producer. Oh wow, this is like a very fancy video with all production credits and graphics credits. Nice. I wish I had a team that could just do my videos. That's awesome. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Until the next one, I will see you very soon.